I'm Sheena from NodeOps, and I'm really excited to host this conversation with Lucas from the BNB Chain and, of course, Naman from NodeOps. Really exciting to have both of them because, I have spent a lot of time at the IRL event with them. And now, hosting this conversation, it's quite overwhelming. And at the same time, I'm very excited about how this session will be unfolding. So, just to give a very high level for all those who have joined us today. So today's session is purely designed to be very practical, insightful led, and quite educational as well, because we will be talking about evolving builder journey on the BNB chain, the role that AI can play in making on-chain participation very accessible, and how, a simplified infrastructure is like, now it's become like the base for launching experiences so that, the users, developers, communities can actually participate in the whole process and the life cycle and move the ecosystem towards a much better growth. So complete, the maximum focus today's discussion would be on one core question. So let me quote that question. And then, of course, the floor is for Lucas and Naman to take it forward. So the biggest focus of today's discussion would be how we reduce the friction for builders and users so that more ideas can flow from intent to execution. So just to start with, a warm welcome to Lucas, and would really request if you can introduce yourself to the folks out there hearing out. Over to you, Lucas.
All right, thank you very much, Sheena. Thank you, Norman. Really, first of all, it's really great to be here. It has been some time since I did my last sharing. It's always about crunching solutions out at BNB Chain. So it's really good to be out here sometimes to share about what's going on with the chain, what's going on in the ecosystem. My name is Lucas, and I'm from BNB Chain. I'm a solutions architect, currently leading the payments as well as assisting some of the AI initiatives. With the BNB chain ecosystem. Yes.
Thank you so much, Lucas, and thanks for taking up the time for today's session with us. Naman, I mean, everybody knows you from the ecosystem, from NodeOps community side, but would be great if you could introduce yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi everyone. Naman building some stuff around AI right now. We started our journey with focus towards simplifying the life for node operators. As the name suggests, node ops. Recently, we opened up the stack, the entire orchestration stack for apps and agents with our newest product called CreateOS, which lets builders create anything on the platform. And great to chat with one of our prominent partners. I've been looking at the campaign that we did recently, and I'm really fascinated with the numbers. And I look forward to sharing some more insights today and have a really interesting chat with Lucas.
Absolutely. The next couple of minutes would be really exciting. So, before I move on to the questions, Lucas, I had one question for you. Since you are so active in the BNB ecosystem, are you literally seeing more activity from AI or consumer apps, or is it gaming, infra, or just agent based use cases of recently?
Yeah, definitely. Generally, there's a lot more adoption across all the different landscape. But I believe because this AI is the kind of use cases that AI can unlock is definitely far more than any others. Especially when we talk about DeFi, it's kind of hitting a bit of that plateau for now before we can expand into anything else. So a lot of these developers, users are looking into how AI can be on chain as well. And definitely we see a lot of new projects and with the help of a lot of like partners like you guys and hackathons as well as campaigns into AI, we do receive a really a good number of projects. We've reviewed them all. They're really good ones, and I'm pretty sure we'll have a chance to talk about them through this conversation.
Amazing. Naman, you also have been like, mentoring a lot of developers throughout like last so many years. You have seen the transition from blockchain towards an AI driven narrative. Have you noticed any, a change that you really want to highlight?
Um, well, like to be honest, like I don't like this word narrative a lot. It's just a distraction for builders. Honestly, that one thing that I've seen like changing a lot is the friction has completely moved away. 5 years ago when you were asked to write a code or build an agent, the like you couldn't do it without without involving the subject matter experts. Today, writing code, deploying agents is not the hard part at all, right? Hard part right now is everything that comes after that. Where is it running? How have you deployed it? Are you able to keep it stable enough to do the actual job and whatever goal you have decided to achieve with these agents? I think that's where we've seen a huge shift in the mindset right now for builders. And what I see most often is builders who've got great ideas. They generally used to build prototypes taking weeks and months. Today, they're able to build prototype in a day, validate their ideas, and just continue working on these things. So, nothing changes from the mindset perspective for us internally at the team. But when we interact with builders, I think this is what we've seen the huge shift right now.
Actually, very well put across. I mean, really, I think that's the right way to put it. So, Lucas, continuing with what Naman mentioned, right? So,
Mm.
from a BNB's chain perspective, what is the biggest friction point do you still think builders are facing when they're trying to build it something more on an on-chain ecosystem?
Well, that's a really good question. I think now, despite many of the solutions, like I 100% agree with Norman that building is no longer the hard part. But at the end of the day, the what developers can focus on is really putting them on the hands of users. And in order to do so, the kind of priority shifts from putting effort into developing into putting effort into designing a good product. They have a lot more iterations. Iterations are much faster. They can really fix the different or play around with different user journeys in order to deliver a good product. However, I must say that in today's landscape, there are still a good number of hurdles and blockers that kind of restricts many of the use cases on chain. Like for AI, one example is that when we are looking into, for example, coming up, I think the clawbot is one example. When I first got hold of the my own clawbot, I realized that it is a very, very powerful tool. It's something that I've always envisioned that every business owner, every SME, or even enterprise should have a solution like that to help them either with their workflows or with some of their business processes. However, there's a lot of hype on social media. There's plenty of people saying, "Oh, you should use clawbot. It's good. It's gonna help you change your workflow." But then when I look around, I was the only one with clawbot, right? And that became a very something that I was really curious about, like why am I the only one? And then I started to realize that a lot of the main reason is because it has not yet reached a point where it's easily accessible to be placed on the hands of users. And therefore that is why we had this opportunity to work with NodeOps to kind of create this one-click open cloud deploy. And I remember I think the second day where I realized this thing, I went on X and just tweeted, "We need a one-click solution to spin up Clawbot." Yeah, and well, you guys made it happen. So really props to everyone here. And this highlights that this is not the only problem. This is just one out of many. And it's really up to us whether we want to look into the big picture of, are we actually inventing something, or are we inventing it and putting them on the hands of users? There are plenty of frontier technologies out there. Everyone is inventing really great technologies. However, no one is thinking about how we turn them into actual products that users can use. So that is something that to all builders or inventors, the the end goal is not inventing something, but is to create an impact and provide value to users at the end of the day.
That's actually a very brilliant thought. I mean, even, being in this infra, I think I've never realized that fine line. You may invent, but, obviously what matters is how you're able to hand it over to the end users. Actually, it's a very valid and a very strong point, Lucas, that you have brought in here. So, passing this to Naman, because NodeOps always has, focused on this one click or simplifying every journey. And like Lucas mentioned, they wanted that, the open claw is there, but, how you bring it. So, I just would like to know the thought process about, making this possible at that time of the hour. So what does it really go in, ensuring that what you're building as an invention is actually accessible by the end user?
Yeah. So when you look at it, right, I think the way we started, even thinking about the journey with NodeOps, it was always focused towards bringing that empowerment to builders and innovators and professionals in this space, like who generally face I use this word a lot, which is handicapped when it comes to tech. Right, AI today is really good at one specific thing, which is transitioning that intention that you carry, the goal that you want to achieve, into code. You describe what you want and it would create it for you, right? I intentionally use create every time because this is the name that we've made sure to follow with CreateOS. And when we looked at OpenClaw, uh, our team probably might have spun up like 70ish, 80ish on day one to actually play around and see the capabilities of it. And it was disaster, I would say, on the day one, where you maxed out of tokens. You had no clue if it is actually running for 24 hours. Long running tasks were not able to conclude and actually get an outcome or the goal or the intent that I had to spin that up. And that's where we saw the gap. Like, you don't expect a non-technical person to be aware of all the complexities that comes out in optimization, the infra, as well as abstracting away all those complexities so that you can actually run it for a long running task. At least we have seen that people are now comfortable with orchestrating, people are comfortable with spinning up multi agents. But when you ask them how much tokens are you burning, yeah, that's the resume today, right? If you ask them the token burn and the tasks that they're doing, if they're not optimizing it, you won't call them a good AI evangelist at all, right? And now that's where we come in. And yeah, like, interaction with BNB Chain with Lucas was mainly focused on, hey, there are a lot of traders and people who are very keen to leverage AI for agentic trading and use cases around it. We were like, yeah, these guys would have no clue about the ops complexities that could come out in terms of token consumption and optimization and all these challenges. And it was a mutual fit. This one click deployment is something that would always remain the heartbeat of the way NodeOps has always focused on, and we're glad that we're able to empower BNB chain ecosystem with it.
So, Lucas, over here, just one last follow-up question on the one-click cloud deployment. How was it, when you were able to experience it? Like, I mean, of course, you were trying to do yourself, and you've been quite instrumental in driving this initiative as well. But when you were able to get that experience, would just love to understand what was your, thought process or moment of excitement when you were, yourself experiencing it.
Well, what I truly really like is the simplicity of everything. I mean, at the end of the day, we really try to cut down as many things as we can. Even the whole idea of having a dedicated page, so you don't need to navigate around things that you don't really want to see. Like the whole idea of coming up the dedicated page, all you see is a plus icon. Click on it, and then put in some of the API, which I still think is a bit of that friction. Getting your bot tokens, connected and things like that. Still a bit of friction there, but it's the best we can do for now. And that whole idea really excites me. When I got hold of this, I was like, oh, I just can't wait for all my friends to get their own Clawbot, and then they will understand what I mean by how powerful a Clawbot is. A lot of them telling me, "Oh, have you heard of Clawbot?" and things like that. And the funny thing was they were telling me how good it was without even using it. So I couldn't imagine. I can't wait for them to actually try it themselves as well, or even everyone out here, the community, to actually try it for themselves. Yeah.
So both of you, so it's a very open question. So if somebody who does not understand what's a clawbot and you have to really explain on a very simplified or a kindergarten level, what is the best thing, or a tagline that you can think along with it?
Agents can finally execute. So that is the I think is the vision of Clawbot, is that even before Clawbot exists, um, agents are basically text input in and text input out. There's a lot of struggles with building connectors, integrations, and it really didn't serve much purpose. Although I'm sorry. I think it served a great purpose in terms of bringing us knowledge and helping cut down a lot of that searching, the development, and anything text based. For a student, for a developer, for someone in research, you want something quick. I think the general agent and LLMs can do that really, really well. But you will realize that is the main blocker at that point of time. Agents cannot execute. So if the agents can really understand, they can logic so well, they can reason, why can't they help me book a flight and a hotel for my business trip? And it's not that things weren't invented yet. It's not that we need some sort of super, uh, semiconductor for this to happen. We already have APIs. We already have a lot of this. We have payments API. We have commerce API to put them all together, but no one is putting them together, right? And then Clawbot came out with all this integration where you can manually link different things together. They can run a software, create an application, run it on its own. So it has its own compute, its own memory, and that became really, really powerful. Although today I still don't see much executing agents, but I believe that is the first step that we need to take to kind of shape the future of agentic operations.
Thank you, Lucas. That was quite helpful. Naman, you want to give any add-on on that?
No, I think Lucas covered it well. Like, I believe it's the execution part that has been simplified a lot. But if I have to explain it to someone non-technical, I just ask them to think of it like Jarvis for you, Donna for you. The entire like brain, the along with hands that could execute things for you is now OpenClaw. That could do the stuff, and it's not just OpenClaw, but any agents that could be executable in a long running fashion reliably. I think, yeah, that's what we are seeing right now as the shift.
Mm.
Absolutely, absolutely. So moving towards the next section, Lucas was really curious to know, like, you, as per, your responsibilities at BNB, what's like the next or the current priorities and where is the ecosystem likely to be headed, say, probably in next 3 months or next 6 months?
Mm, well, I think what I can comment on are the projects that I work on. So that's where I invest most of my time on. But generally, I would say first, as the blockchain itself as an organization, we are looking to strengthen our existing infrastructure and to help ease developers' journey into realizing some of the use cases that they have in mind. I believe blockchain itself is very close to hitting maturity. The blockchain is capable to unlock many of the use cases that are currently not available. So a lot of the effort is really about understanding why use cases are not yet realized and building infrastructures, tools, and helping ease developers to get there. And that is really our current priority now, less of the chain. And apart from working on things that we're really good at, I think such as institutional use cases and DeFi, which is really strong on BNB Chain, what we are really diving into is AI, as we mentioned, as well as how we can facilitate on-chain payments. So let's go back to that initial use case of agents being able to help me book a hotel and a flight ticket overseas. This is where we need a really solid payments protocol for agents, and that's where MPP became a new thing that is important. But it's not the end. There are many other components that need to come into play to help ease all of this communication, all of this synchronization with the different components, stakeholders in making this use case happen. And that is what BNB Chain is working on. That's what I myself is really driving hard into. And pretty much, I believe in the next 3 months, we will see a lot of this use case being unlocked. Starting with payments. Once you will start to see, it's very maybe OpenClaw or some agent or by default comes with MPP that you can start making payments. You will see virtual credit cards, agents having their own credit card or debit cards that can make payments or even shop for you on at Amazon. So this, and I think in the next, I would say in next 3 to 6 months, you see many of these use cases actually coming to life.
Very well put, actually. I mean, everybody is now trying to, ensure that there are more, it's seamless, it's faster, number of steps are reduced, and at the same time, they're able to optimize every step that has been actually going in the whole process that, has been doing. I mean, we have seen an age where, you would try to sit, browse, and, have
Mm.
some payment glitches at the end and not able to use a particular method because, you are a little handicapped on that side. So I think that is definitely, I think, where we are heading towards. So, Naman, in relation to this question, like what Lucas has mentioned, that we are trying to make everything more agentic flow, and things are going to start getting automated more. I think over here the role of an infra provider would be massive, right? So, in your lens, like how do you see this translating when it comes to folks like you who envisage it even before the pain point is identified?
Yeah, so everything boils down to actually interacting with builders who are doing some real work. You when you talk to them, you would identify, like, they're very much inclined towards this intent to build and innovate right now. But when you ask them to make it more secure, scalable, reliable, they'll always have a little bit of goosebump moment where they don't know how to make it reliable, secure, and scalable. Right? That's where we saw the gap, and it's been like 6 to 7 months since we've been chatting with amazing builders throughout the space, not just in Web3, not just building stuff around blockchain, but like AI enthusiasts, people who have never coded and now are building like a single man company. These are the people that you would like to empower a lot, right? And as an infrastructure provider, like, we made sure to provide this entire stack for them. And I generally use this framework. I think Sheena knows it internally. It's like the 80-20 rule, where 80% of the foundation is set for builders, and you let them play on the 20% customization part. When I say about this 80% foundation, it starts with compute, orchestration, inferencing, governance, evaluations, memory, and now building that entire harness together. That's essentially the operating system for agents, right? And CreateOS is glad to be at that stage where we have the entire stack ready, and it's more about what use case you're trying to build on, what is the problem that you're looking to solve, and we'll make sure to give you that 20% customization that you can play around. And this foundation is something that you own. It's up to you how you want to play around with it. And that's the shift. That's what we've been looking at from a company's point of view, to provide to every builder out there.
Thank you, Naman, for bringing that up at this conversation. So, Lucas, connecting, I love, I really want to, connect whatever you guys are speaking so that, it just shows up like an entire, learning experience for those who are hearing out. So, like for a minute, if, we don't, understand that you're from BNB looking at more of on-chain experiences, or Naman looking at an infra, it's a very generic question that I wanted to put forward to both of you here. So, Lucas, starting with you, do you see AI more as a developer productivity layer, or more, it should be more focused on a user experience layer? Something that, you can entirely try to experience, which you never thought was possible. Or do you think it's more like a developer layer that, you're trying to just optimize the available tools and, move towards the next invention?
Oh, okay. That's a really good question. I think I have a very big vision for AI. Um, I do envision one day that websites might be obsolete, UI might be obsolete, because you can really just do anything with the chat interface at your agent. If you look at how Google Commerce, what they're doing on Gemini itself, you can search for a product, they'll recommend to you, the chatbot itself will display the product to you very nicely, and you can instantly make payment for it with Google Pay. And that is really how I think the world and what the final goal will be like. And whatever that you might want to do or need to do, just simply go on to that chat box and type it out, and it will be done for you. So it is not really just for developers, to kind of start building more apps or go into the next invention, but it's going to shape a lot of that user journey, the user experiences, how we somehow integrate different parties, different applications together into a single interface, and most importantly, to make our lives easier, to help us do more with less. So that is really the ultimate goal of my vision of AI.
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken to you earlier also in one-to-one discussions, and I've always seen you looking at the larger picture than rather just looking at the steps which are immediate. So, I mean, and I think that's what the reason, deliberately wanted to bring this question, this conversation somehow, so that, people who have not been have the opportunity to speak with you directly can actually, get down your
Mm.
thought process and the way, you've been envisioning how to take AI forward. So Naman, in this relation, I'm very curious to know that, from a builder infrastructure perspective, you think AI is reducing the gap between the intention and deployments, or are they just making that first step to be taken more seamless, or is it more that they're able to come to the end line faster? What do you think is, where, they're leveraging it the most?
Okay, both of you have used CreateOS, right? One way or the other. So either for deploying OpenClaw or for building your websites or anything, Sheena, right? What was your observation? If I would have asked you the question 3 years back, 4 years back, that go and build your own website for your idea or go and build your game for your kids, and make it live and share it with people so that they can play, right? And or they can visit your website. Would you have done that single-handedly 4 years back?
No, I
No,
would have
right?
actually just called up 10 people and asked them, I have a challenge. Can you just build it for me?
Or for Lucas, if it would have been mainly around, okay, I have a sales prospect, I need to coordinate with them and build out a custom proposal that can just be sent over email and keep a follow up ready so that whenever they reply back, I can try to close them in quickly. 4 years back, it would have required a team with expertise to do all these things, right? Today, like
Mm.
Sheena, you're able to just go on CreateOS and just build stuff and deploy and get the link and share it with folks to play around. Lucas is able to use OpenClaw deployment to do this entire thing using a simple chat interface. What's the gap? The gap right now is both of you now needs to think of just English as your intent driven communication to systems, to softwares, right? You don't need expertise from the programming language point of view. That's the biggest unlock that I could think of right now, right? Today, like researchers have an enormous opportunity and power to actually build and innovate because they don't need to be dependent on anything, right? That dependency layer is completely abstracted away unless and until you need to work on like a highly specialized use case where you need to have coordinated team efforts to be done. Like today, like you can literally avoid having dependencies and be more productive, right? I think that's what you might have seen. I'm sure we all might have seen this right now as a shift where you avoid being dependent on anyone and let your agents do stuff for you so that you can move productively quicker. Your team can accelerate at a 10x pace, right? And that's the shift, I believe, that has been purely validated. You're seeing the growth and adoption of it right now with the pace at which software is moving. It all boils down to keeping it like improving step over step. I'm not saying that we are at the finishing line right now. It still needs to answer a lot of questions, which is security. We saw the breaches that happened lately. We saw the hacks in the entire DeFi space that happened lately. This is an eye opener. You cannot let go of certain cybersecurity threats at all, and yeah, it's a matter of consistently contributing to this mission to help each other rather than fighting with each other. I think that's the cultural shift that we've finally seen happening a lot. At least in the crypto space, initially, that was not the case at all. It was mainly around firefighting and sticking to your ecosystem and moving forward with whatever you want to do with that. But now it's like everyone is joining hands together to work on these things. The best example for you was the recent hack, and look at the way all the prominent players came together. It was Aave, Arbitrum, Drift, like Kelp, all of these, Layer Zero team, like coming together and working to make sure that they make it more secured. It's an eye opener that yes, people are now culturally very open to collaborate and innovate and secure things together, because they know that AI is going to empower the rest of the things, right? But it would never help you to keep your system secure. It is going to be you who would be responsible to keep it secure, no matter whatever level of abstractions you would do. At the end, you need humans to take care of security. Like that's one biasness that I would always say towards the things that you're building right now. This Shina, you there? You're in mute.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
you're
is
back
it?
now.
Okay. Maybe a
Yeah,
slight glitch or something.
yeah.
Anyways, no, that was very helpful. So, Luke, is there anything you want to add over there? Because there were like, he's brought in like a couple of points about how communities are getting together, and then about the security breach, and of course having that human element throughout. So, would you like to add something there?
Well, I think 100% at this point. I'm not too sure about the future. I'm still optimistic that in the future AI can be secure as well, autonomously, hopefully. But as of today, the current state, 100% agree that there are some aspects to AI that really humans are irreplaceable. Even like architecting something, like even the whole idea of having an idea, the intent is something that AI cannot replace as of today.
Absolutely. So, Lucas, now, like, we have brought in a lot of points. So, one thing which I always wanted to ask you, I mean, I couldn't even ask you when I met you. So initially, when somebody would come into the blockchain to build up a project, they were typically those builders or people who had that kind of a background. So the problem there that typically that when I used to interact with, they were builders, but they did not know how to go to the market. So they had an idea, they had a vision they wanted to build. So many of the projects kind of sometimes even dropped out because they did not know how to take it to the market. But currently, we are seeing a lot of non-techies also, they're taking the risk that it's become so easy to build out. There's so much of support around available. And the whole journey is quite seamless. Like NodeOps has been focusing on, giving a unified single workspace where you don't even need to, switch any context. You can do everything within the same workspace. So do you think because of this, you have been able to engage with more, folks out there who have brilliant ideas. Plus, they already have that understanding of how to take the product to the market, because of which there is, much more enriching value addition to the chain as a whole. So, do you see that there's any shift because of this whole way of, now managing and executing the process?
I would say AI is like with everything that we have, creating a product, as I mentioned, it's not hard at all. Anyone with an idea can always do it. But the difficult part, like as mentioned, bringing it to the market. That I would say is still one of the biggest challenges that even AI cannot solve. And largely that's because a lot of these builders they get too excited. Oh, now I can build an app in a single day. They just, all right, I have an idea, let's just build it. But they have not truly think about whether it's solving a gap, whether it was truly necessary. And that is where, because building becomes so easy, you start to build every day and whatever idea comes, you just do it. In the past, I would say I'm more careful with building ideas. When I first know how to develop stuff, I would like, oh, let's practice coding, let's build the next project, try to replicate something for fun. And then as time goes by, when I want to build something, I start to think a lot more into whether I should build something. And because of how AI has made it so easy to build, people kind of disregard that point. The whole idea of doing like market survey, like will people actually pay for it? How much will they pay for it? That is not just about revenue or money, it's about how much pain you're solving. And it becomes to a point that we don't even do that, we just build. So really finding the product market fit, getting into the market is the most difficult thing. And I think even for myself, when we look into the reason why isn't, the truth is blockchain is a lot more efficient for payments. We're much cheaper regardless of volume, right? But why aren't people still using it day to day? Like if I go down to the streets, I don't see people transacting. I don't see merchants accepting crypto yet. And the main, even with stable coins, people are not accepting it. So the main reason is because it's actually a chicken and egg problem. This is just one example. Is that merchants have no reason to accept crypto because no one's spending in crypto. The volume is not high, and users are not on ramping to crypto to spend them because it's an additional step. They don't receive crypto natively. So what is the solution around this? Maybe just an idea is creating payroll systems. Payroll systems bring a lot more motivation for businesses because there's better treasury yield, it's more transparent, and maybe it's cheaper as a solution altogether. That they start paying out in crypto to employees, and then daily people like us receive in crypto, and we decide, what, why not just spend in crypto instead of off ramping? That is just one way to look at it, and it's really a chicken and egg problem. Should merchants start first, or should users start first? And going about this, putting all this thought process behind it is what drives and direct a good product. So in any case, if any developers out there, hold on your horses before you enter any prompt. Think about it for a second before you build.
It's mainly like validating before you build. I think that's what is more important in terms of like knowing what's worth building. I align with it.
So actually, what I have observed, because we also get a lot of applications, and a lot of people want to build. So what I've realized is, there is one set, because they have more time to ideate, just the way, Lucas, you mentioned in the beginning of the session, that, there is more, because, the whole journey from the start to a particular point is easier. So they're able to spend more time in ideating, validating it, improvising it. So entire mind is, more focused towards strategizing it. But yeah, at the same time, of course, you cannot deny that even people like me, who are supposed to be sitting here doing the legal and investment side of things for NoDops, are actually sitting and trying to build games, and then just get very excited because they were able to build a simple tic-tac game. So I totally get what you're saying, but I think even the positive side is that, with the solutions that people are building out, they are more robust, and they are more much more improvised, because the whole time that they are spending towards strategizing and building it has been able to bring in that level of efficiency and excellence in their end products. And yeah, coming to the problem of your, chicken and egg, and of course, that's a very brilliant solution that, payrolls are recognized that, employees start getting something in crypto. But at the same time, I think a support from the government and making rules more transparent is, I think, the need of the hour as well, where they consider this as a legal tender, and don't look at it from a perspective that if it's coming something with crypto, so probably, people, are they trying to evade anything, or are they trying to do? And with exchanges, like, in Binance, of course, I can speak for India region, there's a very strong KYC and KYB for every employee. So I think we are moving towards a direction, but yeah, certain things do take time to get unfolded across the globe. But definitely, I mean, it's more seamless, it's much cheaper, and it's much faster compared to the traditional, methods of transactions.
I agree.
Yes, so I'm really loving this conversation, but yes, because we have a time limit as well. So I would just like to ask a few last set of my questions. So Lucas, for you, how do you see agentic workflows becoming very relevant in terms of the BNB chain? Uh, so you think we are moving towards a future where users will interact more with the blockchains and less probably directly, and more through a very intelligent interface. So you think we are ready for that, or we are somewhere midway, or we are just trying to educate right now more folks to be a part of this journey?
Well, well, in my opinion, I think a lot of the use cases already have solutions. And, like as you mentioned, maybe compliance, legal can be a blocker. But I do see many other use cases that can actually be done. And although I'm from BNB Chain, I would like to emphasize that it's less so about, just seeing more people being on blockchain. For sure, that's what I hope for. But in terms of the topic of AI, it's a lot more about If you don't need blockchain, you don't need blockchain. Some solutions won't need that. And it's really about, at the end of the day, making lives easier with whatever that we're building. And it doesn't have to be on blockchain, but for my side, we do find a gap in terms of payments, and that is something we're really driving forward. So in terms of like the question whether what how do we feel about agentic workflows would be like on chain, 100%. So once agents can start making payments and big cross-border payments become, or instant payment becomes really important, that's where BSC, BNB Chain will be a critical component to facilitate all of this.
Absolutely. And I mean, I love when you emphasize that every sector, every activity need not be on blockchain. You need not really try to fit that for any use case. You have to be very prudential in taking that decision. Very well put, Lucas. And I really love you're so patient and so much of simplicity. You explain such complicated some when people are confused and the way you've been explaining throughout, really amazing. Naman, I would like to ask you, like, in terms of infrastructure, like more focused towards infrastructure, what do you think is the need to look like in the future? When I say future, it could be like, see, this, in today's time, a future could be even 3 months or 6 months. I'm not looking at more than that a time span. Things are evolving much faster than we imagine. So, what do you think in terms of infra?
I think we've the biggest validation for it is when you see mainstream enterprises adapting, the agentic workflows or AI in their day-on-day business opportunities, right? And that's accelerating at a very rapid pace. That's why you see, a lot of companies now taking a services angle where they could offer these solutions to enterprises as well. Now, what I believe right now, where we're heading, we first focus was simplifying the workflows from LLM's point of view for a simple, uh, you know, chat-based interface where you could ask questions, get response, you're done. Then came a wave where you could actually, run certain amount of tasks with a memory in the backend so that it knows what it did in the past and now can continue working on it. The third wave was where you saw this agents to be bought up where you could run long running tasks with a long running memory, ever evolving and keep on improving in decision making and create an intelligence layer on top. Now, what you would see is mainly focused on creating security guardrails, for these agents so that adoption is quicker. Take any example you want, be it an exchange like Binance or an enterprise like Stripe. Both of them are dominating in the respective verticals, right? If you ask them to adapt or go 100% agentic for their platforms, it's going to be a chaos, right? So what we're heading towards right now is setting up those right guardrails, setting up those right harness in place that could help adoption of this agentic world in enterprises and big tech companies quicker, and solving the real world problems easily, right? So that's one way where the entire tech revolution is happening. And on the other side, when you look at the innovation across robotics right now, I'm very fascinated by the way things are moving there. Where you see like things that would have been taking 6 months, 12 months for doing research, prototyping, simulations, and then setting up certain industrial use cases. That timeline has gone down to 3 months, 4 months. Why? Because now they're able to do research quicker, simulate quicker, improve the benchmarks quicker, and then move towards execution from the industrial and robotics point of view. Like that's fascinating. You could imagine like the world where you could have like V1, V2, V3 of a car been launched within a year. Like I don't see that time being far away where you would see that happening. Because now that that rapid evolution to move from V1 to V2, like the time span it used to take before and it would take now, it's going to be drastically down, drastically lesser, right? And I think that's the very fascinating word. And fortunately, like at least I'm glad to be part of this revolution right now and play a very teeny tiny role into it. I just love the game right now.
Amazing, amazing. So apparently, I think I just posted just before the CMA, the last generation to witness a life without social media, and probably one of the lucky generations to see the entire tech evolution, Of course, I come from an era where I was explaining my kids the other day, for even a phone call, we had to go towards a wired device, and you literally had to stand there. And today, you can just do so many things with the power of that small handset in your hand. So I think amazing times. So one last question. Yes, definitely this is the last question. So Lucas, what's your advice out there for builders? Would love to hear. And I think everybody would be curious to this section that what is your advice to the builders out there?
Well, I think throughout this interview, I kind of dropped a few opinions that I thought might be valuable. But really, I think I can end it off simply. I think the motivation to build is the most important thing. Therefore, before again, whatever it might be, think about what is the value, what is the impact. Everything else is just a tool to get there. So focus on what is the vision that you want to achieve.
Simple and so hard, it's really great to absorb this, and it's actually a very enriching learning for everyone who's hearing it out. Naman, over to you. What's your that one thought that you want to drop it for all the builders out there?
Yeah, let me think. I think, yeah, I'm just thinking about what we've not covered so far. I think this is also an interesting thing that was brought up in the recent conversations that I was having with a 15-year-old experienced person just quit the job and looking forward to start a new journey altogether. I think one of the learnings would be to stop respecting this complexity fatigue, that I need to build complex solutions. Most of what builders think they need to learn before they can ship do not actually need to learn a lot of things, right? The industry have spent a lot of years convincing developers that complexity is an essential part of whatever you're building, to sell, to pitch, to drive. Uh, it's not anymore. It was history. It's gone. It's past now. And my advice would be to pick the smallest possible version of your idea, not the MVP, not the prototype, the most embarrassingly the smallest version that you could, and just ship it. Use whatever tool you want to get it live. Don't be biased. Even if it is not the right tool, just learn from real users and then keep on iterating on it. Right? Why this matters right now is builders I see succeeding right now are not the ones who are going to take 6 months, 7 months, 8 months to pick the right stack and then launch it. They're the ones who are really shipping ugly over the weekend, watching it break over production, and then keep on iterating on top of it, because your customers, your users are your first validators, and everything else is a noise, right? And that's what I would recommend for every builder to, yeah, just stop respecting the complexity and just keep shipping, keep iterating on top of it.
Amazing, amazing. Great idea. Start small. Right.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you so much, Lucas and Naman, for giving this, first of all, having such a conversational discussion today, and at the same time, dropping the best practical insights for all the listeners. So, of course, the one-click launch experience is there for the BNB community, and it's actually one of the examples about how infra, AI, simplified participation can actually come together. And yeah, I mean, I would just like to conclude it on a very simple note that I just want to thank both of you. And I just hope the session gave all our listeners a very clear view of where builder ecosystem is headed, how AI has been instrumental in the growth, and how reducing friction is so important for the next wave of adoption. So for now, we'll sign off. And of course, Lucas is very interactive, and I've seen him really interacting heavily with the community. So I think they can freely drop in questions to you. And of course, NodeOps is always there to answer questions and support everyone out there. So signing off until we have the next session again together. Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Gina.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lucas.